The last decade has seen a plethora of binge-watchable TV series hit our screens, as giants of the streaming world like Netflix and Amazon Prime continued to invest millions into their products, so came with it a whole host of new and, to be honest, very decent material. The sci-fi genre is one that hasn't been overlooked even slightly over the last 10 years. In days gone by, sci-fi shows were very much for a niche market. There wasn't many of them either, with the likes of Doctor Who and Star Trek being the shows to dominate the small screen market for the entire genre. However, fast forward to the end of 2019 and there's a whole world of sci-fi at our fingertips. Furthermore, a lot of it is pretty damn impressive too. Now we're into 2020, we are bound to be treated to even more TV brilliance, but with 2019 just having closed out, which sci-fi show has lasered the competition into oblivion? I'm Will for What Culture, and here are the 10 greatest sci-fi TV shows of the last decade. Number 10, The Flash. 2014 saw the debut of Barry Allen and Flash, with CW hosting the show before Sky got hold of it over in the UK. A spin-off from Arrow, Flash has done an excellent job of bringing some light-hearted fun to a series and character that hadn't been explored too much in the past. A lot of DC's work over previous decades has centered on Batman, but with Arrow and Flash now well-established TV shows, we might well see even more exploration of the DC universe in the next 10 years. The acting might not be the best we've ever seen, but with Flash you get a show that appeals to younger audiences as well as the older generation. Now in its 6th season, Flash continues to deliver and will no doubt get a 7th installment at some point down the line. Number 9, The Man in the High Castle. Unlike most series in this list, The Man in the High Castle is over and done with following a 4-year run between 2015 and 2019. The show is based on the novel by celebrated sci-fi writer Philip K. Dick, and delivers an excellent interpretation of what the world might be like if the outcome of World War II was a little different, shall we say. Ridley Scott worked on the show as executive producer, putting it in very safe hands. The Man in the High Castle doesn't come with an expensively assembled or big-name cast, but it does deliver when it matters. Unlike some other shows, it's a relatively short viewing experience. Just 40 episodes and 4 seasons are enough for the show to tell its whole story and round off everything nicely. It's been nominated for and won a number of awards along the way. For those who haven't seen it, it's well worth the Amazon Prime subscription for a month on its own. Number 8, Arrow. Arrow is the story of billionaire playboy Oliver Queen, who returns from a remote desert island determined to bring justice to the world through his crime-fighting ways. Aside from Queen, Arrow features some truly lovable characters throughout. You can't fail to love Felicity, while John Diggle is the most loyal of companions alongside the main man. The show has paved the way for the likes of Flash, Supergirl, and Batwoman to be brought to life and is honored by the group of programs now sitting in the aptly titled Arrowverse. Much like the aforementioned Flash, there are some cringy moments and poor acting at times, but on the whole, Arrow is nicely put together and looks set for an explosive ending next year. 7. Westworld. 2016 brought us the premiere of Westworld, and now 2 seasons down, we can't wait to see even more. The brilliantly put together concept, based on the 70s film of the same name, has been a roaring success for HBO and was even ranked as the most viewed premiere on the channel since 2014's True Detective. J.J. Abrams is the man behind the magic for HBO on this occasion. However, the performances of Evan Rachel Wood, Thandie Newton, and Jeffrey Wright help the show massively. All 3, aided by a brilliant supporting cast, help make Westworld one of the finest shows of the decade, period. And a 3rd series is set to hit screens in 2020. 6. Watchmen. Probably the most recent show to be included on this list, Watchmen has been brilliant ever since it hit screens in 2019. It is based firmly on the comic book of the same name and has been a roaring success. It's already critically acclaimed thanks to its expert storytelling and brilliant performances from its cast. With that, it's got its hands on a number of awards, while also being nominated for a number of others. Having only just finished, now is the perfect time to settle back and binge through Watchmen the way us couch potatoes so love to do. As far as adaptations of existing material goes, Watchmen is a perfect example of drawing upon its source material and taking it in an entirely fresh and innovative direction, as well as just being incredible television all the while. 5. Black Mirror. Black Mirror might not be for everyone. In fact, some episodes will blow the mind and leave you asking more questions than you ever cared to find answers for. But what Black Mirror does do is get you thinking. It draws you into what the real world is actually like and brings attention to aspects of society that we all know exist but choose, in the main, to ignore. Now, with 5 seasons to its name, Black Mirror is one of those shows that is hard to ignore. Each episode is different within its own right. And that's the beauty of Black Mirror. You can dip in and out when you want without feeling like you've missed some major plot hole or story arc. It is a masterpiece from the mind of Charlie Brooker and will more than likely stand the test of time as well. Number 4, Rick and Morty. Sure, there are people who argue Rick and Morty isn't really sci-fi as much as it is comedy, but I'm including it anyway, because, put in the simplest of terms, Rick and Morty is brilliant. In every aspect of what it sets out to do, it's nothing short of superb. Dan Harmon and Justin Roiland must pinch themselves at times with how successful the show has been. Already in its 4th season, Rick and Morty has been commissioned for a whopping 72 more episodes. The writing, the comedy, and the characters allowed Rick and Morty to explode beyond its fringe cult status to be a flat-out smash cultural hit that is arguably the biggest animated comedy launched in the past decade. It's solidified itself as a rock-solid meme machine with legions of fans and an overwhelming online presence. Above all that though, Rick and Morty refuses to take itself too seriously, with splashes of meta-commentary on the show itself, its unwieldy fanbase, and the messed up world of television it inhabits. Even if the rambunctious and even at times cringeworthy fan worship the show receives from its more hardline supporters gets to you, Rick and Morty is still well worth a watch, if for nothing more than simply to marvel at how far a crude Back to the Future parody has come in becoming one of the top sci-fi shows of the decade. 3. Dark. While most of this list will have a massive audience or ardent following, it's pretty safe to say that Netflix's Dark doesn't quite have the same worldwide appeal. Yet. Dark originates from Germany, but don't let the subtitles stop you from checking it out. Its 2 seasons so far have both received massive praise from critics, so much so that the series has successfully struck a deal to air a 3rd, 4th, and final series in the next few years. It's hard to explain the premise of Dark, however, those who enjoyed Stranger Things should find they fall quickly in love with this show. And speaking of Stranger Things, 2. Stranger Things. We've already been given 3 seasons of Stranger Things since it first aired in 2016, and frankly, most people can't wait to see more. Everything about the show has been done masterfully, from the 80s film-inspired little touches throughout, to the brilliant intertwining stories from the Upside Down and Eleven's background. As a viewer, you can't help but become quickly obsessed with Stranger Things. Chief Hopper has already become something of a cult legend in the sci-fi world, while Winona Ryder delivers some of her best work. Dustin Henderson is as lovable as any character to ever hit our screens, while Steve Harrington goes from massive jerk-off to hero in a matter of episodes. Forgetting the whole sci-fi proviso of this list, Stranger Things is just straight up one of the greatest shows in the last 10 years across any genre. And number 1, The Boys. Rounding out this list is another 2019 epic, The Boys. Amazon Prime only allowed us to feast our eyes on the show in July of this year, but it was more than worth the seemingly decade-long wait for a program of such brilliance. Taken from the comic book of the same name, The Boys delivers a different take on the life of a superhero, and it does it excellently. From the troubles of the Deep to the even more troubled Homelander and the fame-hungry A-Train, the show is compelling from the get-go. Carl Urban is superb as the brilliant Billy Butcher, a performance which in itself deserves a wealth of praise. It is little surprise then to see The Boys commissioned for at least one more season in 2020. And there are so many unanswered questions and so many more battles to come. Whether you love superhero stories or are in the midst of superhero fatigue, The Boys is for you. And there you have it, folks, the 10 best sci-fi TV shows of the last decade. Now, sci-fi is a huge genre and more populous today than it's ever been, so we're certain to have missed a few unmissable hits on this list. Leave your own rankings of these or any other modern sci-fi shows down below in the comments. It's always fascinating to know what people are watching and to catch up on anything that may have slipped the mainstream audience by. Also, swing on by whatculture.com for daily news, lists, articles, quizzes, and all that other funky internet stuff. You can also drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDogU. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.